The human walked alone through the silent alien corridors. He had been left behind when his team retreated. The walls around him pulsed with a strange light, like veins in a giant living creature. He did not trust the structure, but he kept moving. Something deep inside told him he was not alone. Then he heard it. A sound that made his blood run cold. It was not a scream, not exactly, but a moan mixed with pain. It echoed through the long passage, soft at first, then stronger. The human froze, listening. Every instinct warned him to turn back, but curiosity pulled him forward. He stepped slowly, his boots echoing against the strange floor. The light grew brighter, and the sound clearer. He found a chamber at the end of the corridor. Inside, he saw her, an alien girl trapped in some kind of machine. Her body was stuck inside its shifting parts, her arms stretched forward, her legs pinned. She struggled, but every movement made the device close tighter. Her eyes glowed faintly, filled with fear and pain. She looked at him and gasped. "You, human," she whispered, her voice weak. "Please, help me." For a moment he did not move. He had been trained never to trust unknown species without order. Maybe this was a trap, maybe she was part of the enemy. But her trembling voice did not sound like a trick. Her breath came heavy. Her skin shimmered with strange patterns of light. She was beautiful, but also fragile in this moment. The human felt a pull inside his chest, a human instinct stronger than logic. He stepped closer. "What happened to you?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Her lips trembled. "I sat on it by mistake," she said, her eyes closing in shame. "This machine, it caught me. I cannot move. It will crush me if I fight it." The human studied the machine. It looked alive, its surface moving like flesh, tightening and releasing, ever. "Time." It pulsed. She moaned in pain. He wanted to look away, but he could not. He reached out, his hand hovering above the glowing surface. The device reacted instantly, sharp tendrils snapping at his fingers. He pulled back quickly, his heart racing. The alien girl cried out, "Be careful! If you touch it wrong, it will kill both of us!" The human clenched his jaw. He could leave her, walk away, maybe survive, but something in her eyes stopped him. It was not just pain, it was trust, a desperate trust in him. Why him? He did not know. But he knew one thing. If he left her, he would never forgive himself. "Hold still," he said firmly. She gave a weak laugh, almost a sob. "I cannot move anyway." He crouched beside her, studying the strange trap. It was half metal, half living tissue, and it pulsed like a heartbeat. There was a rhythm, but not perfect. He thought if he timed his pull, maybe he could weaken it. His hands hovered again, this time slower. He touched gently, and the machine hissed like steam. The alien girl gasped, her body tensing. "Please hurry," she whispered. "It grows tighter with every beat." The human swallowed hard. He pulled with sudden force. The machine screamed, a sound that echoed through the chamber. The girl cried out. The walls shook and lights flickered wildly. The human nearly lost his grip, but he held on. Something sharp cut across his arm, but he did not stop. For a moment he thought the machine would crush them both. Then it released slightly. Her shoulders slid free, though her body was still trapped from the waist down. She gasped for breath, her chest rising and falling fast. Tears shimmered in her strange, glowing eyes. "You did it," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But it is not enough. I am still caught." The human looked down at her body, still locked inside the shifting trap. It was worse than he thought. Freeing her fully might take more strength, more time, more risk than he had, and the walls were shaking now. The machine had triggered something, an alarm. He heard a distant rumble, like heavy footsteps moving toward the chamber. The alien girl looked at him with fear. "They are coming," she whispered. "If you run now, maybe you can live." The human clenched his fists, blood dripping from his cut. He looked at her, helpless, trapped, desperate, and he knew the answer already. He was not leaving, not now. "Then we better hurry," he said through gritted teeth. The footsteps grew louder, the walls pulsed with red light. The The machine tightened again, making her cry out in pain, and the human prepared to risk everything to pull her free, first attempt to save her. The chamber shook as if the whole alien structure was waking up. Red light pulsed through the walls, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed closer. The human's heartbeat raced, but his eyes stayed fixed on the alien girl still trapped. Her upper body was free, but the machine clutched her waist and legs like iron jaws. She looked at him, her glowing eyes full of fear. "You freed me halfway," she whispered, her breath trembling. "But if you stop now, it will pull me back in, and I will not survive." The human's hands tightened into fists. He had a choice, save himself or keep fighting for her. And for some reason he could not explain, he knew leaving her was impossible. He stepped closer and pressed his palms against the shifting surface of the machine. It reacted instantly, tendrils whipping out like snakes, scratching at his skin. He hissed in pain but held firm. The alien girl gasped. "Careful, huh? Man, it senses your blood." Her voice cracked. "If it tastes too much, it will claim you too." He ignored the warning. Instead, he studied the rhythm of the pulses again. The device seemed alive, but not intelligent, more like a predator that acted on instinct. Its surface throbbed like a heart, and every pulse made the grip on her body tighter. He whispered to himself, "If I pull at the exact moment it relaxes, maybe I can trick it." She stared at him, her face pale. "You are mad," she said weakly. "No human should even touch this thing." He gave her a thin smile. "Good thing I'm not just any human." He timed the pulse, counted in his head, and then pulled with all his strength. The machine screeched, a sound that shook the chamber. The alien girl cried out, her body arching in pain. The human nearly lost his grip, his muscles burning, but the trap loosened slightly, just enough for her legs to shift a few inches. She gasped for air, her face full of both pain and hope. You are doing it," she whispered, "but not fast enough." The footsteps were louder now. The human glanced at the doorway. Shadows moved in the corridor. Someone or something was coming. His mind screamed at him to run, but his heart locked him in place. The girl gritted her teeth. "If they find us, they will kill you first," she warned. "They see humans as weak, as tools to break." He met her gaze and said firmly, "Then let's prove them wrong." The machine pulsed again, tighter this time. The alien girl moaned, her voice trembling with pain. The human pressed his bloody hands deeper into the surface. It felt like fire on his skin, but he pushed harder. He imagined the device like a wild animal that could be tamed. He whispered through clenched teeth, "You don't own her. You're letting go." The trap trembled as if resisting his will, but then, for a brief moment, it really axed again. He seized the chance. Pulling her leg free, she gasped, falling forward into his arms, her body weak but alive. He held her for a moment. Her breath was hot against his chest. Her glowing eyes looked up at him with something deeper than gratitude, something close to trust. "You saved me," she whispered. "But they will not forgive this. They are coming." Before he could answer, the sound of metal scraping filled the chamber. The doorway darkened, and 3 tall figures stepped inside. They were not like her, not like him. Their bodies were armored, their faces hidden, and in their hands they carried weapons that pulsed with the same red light as the walls. The alien girl's voice broke into panic. "Run, human! Please, save yourself!" But the human's eyes narrowed. He placed her gently on the ground and stood tall. "I didn't come this far to leave you now," he said, his voice hard as stone. The armored figures advanced slowly, their glowing eyes locked on him. One raised a weapon, and the wall behind him hissed with heat. He ducked, pulling a broken shard of the machine from the floor. It was sharp, alive, and it vibrated in his hand like a blade. He had no training for this, no plan, but humans had always survived the impossible, and now he would prove it again. The alien girl reached toward him, her voice weak but fierce. "Do not fight them, you cannot win." Her eyes burned with both fear and admiration. "You are just human." He turned back to her, his grip tight on the blade. "That's exactly why I'll win," he said. The armored figures charged, and the chamber erupted in chaos. Danger around them. The chamber exploded with light as the armored figures rushed forward. Their weapons hummed, shooting streaks of red energy that burned holes into the walls. The human dove to the side, gripping the strange shard he had taken from the machine. It vibrated. Like it wanted to fight in his hand. The alien girl, still weak, tried to crawl away from the line of fire. Her eyes glowed with fear. The first soldier raised his weapon, aiming at her chest. Without thinking, the human threw himself between them. The blast hit the shard instead of his body, and the shard absorbed it. The red light twisted into the blade and shimmered like fire. The soldier froze, as if surprised. The human blinked at the weapon in his hand, realizing it was alive. The alien girl gasped. "You bonded with it. No human has ever done that." The soldier roared and attacked. The human swung the shard wildly, blocking another strike. The alien tech hissed and cracked under the impact, but he held firm. He moved clumsy, untrained, but desperate. Every step he took was powered by instinct and will, not skill. That was the human way, raw survival. The second soldier circled, firing at the alien girl. She screamed, covering her face. The human twisted, throwing himself in front again. The shard absorbed the blast, burning hotter in his grip. The heat singed his skin, but he ignored the pain. The girl whispered, her voice trembling. "Why do you keep protecting me, human? You don't even know me." He gritted his teeth, his eyes never leaving the soldiers. "Because you needed help, and I was there." Simple words, but they struck her like lightning. Her people never believed in sacrifice for strangers, but this human was different. The third soldier stepped forward, larger than the rest. He swung a massive weapon that crackled with energy. The human barely blocked the strike, the shard screaming under the pressure. The impact threw him back against the wall, pain shooting through his ribs. The girl cried out his name, though she didn't even know why. He stood again, bruised but unbroken. He raised the shard and shouted, "You want her, you'll have to go through me." The soldiers moved together now, 3 against 1. The human knew he couldn't win by strength. But humans had always been unpredictable. He ducked low, rolled forward, and slashed at the first soldier's leg. The shard sliced through the armor like paper. The soldier fell, roaring in pain. The other 2 hesitated, shocked. The alien girl stared, her glowing eyes wide. She whispered to herself, "Impossible. No human should be able to do this." The human's breath came heavy, sweat dripping. He knew he couldn't last long, but he had to buy her time. The second soldier aimed again, firing in rapid bursts. The human blocked one, dodged another, and felt the third sear across his arm. Blood ran down, but he kept fighting. The girl pushed herself up, her body trembling but her spirit fierce. She pressed her hand against the machine that had trapped her, whispering in her language. The walls pulsed in response. The human glanced at her, shocked. "What are you doing?" he shouted. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Helping you. The machine still listens to me." The walls shifted suddenly, slamming down between them and one of the soldiers. The alien girl had controlled it, at least for a moment. The human seized the chance, driving the shard deep into another soldier's chest. The armor cracked, sparks flew, and the soldier fell silent. Only one remained now. The largest one, the leader. His weapon burned brighter, his voice deep and cold. "You are nothing but human, weak flesh pretending to be strong." The human's grip on the shard tightened, his voice steady. "Maybe, but weak flesh is harder to break than you think." The leader roared, charging forward. Their clash shook the chamber, sparks and fire flying. The alien girl forced her body to move, crawling closer, her voice cracking, deep but strong. "Do not give up, human. You carry something even my people do not." The human fought with everything left inside him. He slashed, blocked, dodged, and bled. The shard blazed with unnatural light, feeding on his will. Finally, with a desperate cry, he drove the blade through the leader's chest. The soldier fell, the chamber falling silent at last. The human collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. The alien girl dragged herself to his side, her hand trembling as she touched his shoulder. "You fought for me," she whispered, tears in her eyes. No one from my world would have done what you did." He looked at her, blood dripping from his wounds. "I told you," he said weakly. "That's why I'm human." The chamber's red light dimmed, the machine slowly quieting. But beyond the walls, new footsteps echoed. The danger was not over, and both of them knew their fight had only just begun. The bond forms. The human leaned against the broken wall, his chest rising and falling with every painful breath. The shard in his hand no longer glowed, as if it had fallen asleep after the fight. He looked at the alien girl, still half weak but free from the machine. Her glowing eyes were fixed on him, filled with something he could not name. "You should have left me," she whispered softly. Her voice trembled, not from pain but from emotion. "No human should bleed this much for a stranger." The human gave a weak smile. "You weren't a stranger the moment you asked for help." Her breath caught, and she turned her gaze away. Her people never believed in such words. They believed only in strength, in survival of the strongest. But this human, he had shown something different, a power she had never known. Selfless courage. The ground shook again, a reminder that the battle was not over. More footsteps echoed far in the corridors. The human forced himself to stand, but his legs shook. He pressed one hand to the wound on his arm, blood soaking through his sleeve. "We can't stay here," he said firmly. "They'll send more, stronger than before." The alien girl tried to rise, but her body betrayed her. Her knees buckled, and she fell back against the wall. The human caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was warm, almost burning, and patterns of light rippled faintly across it. She closed her eyes and whispered, "My strength will return, but not soon enough." The human thought fast. He looked around the chamber for anything they could use. The machine that had trapped her still pulsed faintly, like a heart after death. The walls whispered in low vibrations. He touched them, and they trembled under his hand. The alien girl spoke in a faint voice. "It still remembers me, but it obeys you now too." He frowned. "Why me? I don't understand this thing." She shook her head slowly. "Neither do I, but it bonded with you when you touched it. That should be impossible. Yet you did it." The human looked at her. "Then maybe being human isn't as weak as your people think." For the first time, she smiled, a small, fragile smile that looked almost human. But the smile vanished as the rumble of heavy boots grew louder. The enemy was getting closer. The human pulled her arm over his shoulder and helped her stand. Her legs trembled, but together they moved toward the corridor. As they limped through the winding passages, the air grew colder. Strange lights flickered, and shadows stretched across the alien walls. Every sound made the human grip the shard tighter. Every pulse of the structure felt like it was alive and watching. At last, they reached a narrow bridge that stretched. Across a deep abyss, the human looked down. Nothing but blackness that seemed endless. The alien girl clutched his arm, her voice tense. "This place is unstable. One wrong step, and we both fall." He nodded, guiding her carefully. But halfway across, a loud metallic cry echoed behind them. The enemy had found their trail. Figures appeared at the end of the bridge, their eyes glowing red in the dark. The girl's breath quickened. "They are not soldiers. They are hunters. They will not stop until we are dead." The human tightened his grip on the shard. He whispered, almost to himself, "Then they picked the wrong prey." He guided her forward faster, though the bridge shook under their weight. The hunters followed, their steps heavy and sure. The abyss below called like a silent threat. The girl stumbled, nearly falling, but the human pulled her close. "Don't look down," he said firmly. "Look at me. Only me." Her glowing eyes locked on his, and for a moment the fear faded. She nodded weakly, trusting him completely. Step by step they crossed, but just as they reached the far side, the hunters raised their weapons. Energy bolts streaked through the air, burning into the walls around them. The human pushed her behind him, shielding her with his body. The shard lit up again, bright as fire, blocking the blasts. The girl gasped, "It listens to you now. It fights with you." The human didn't answer, his focus sharp. He swung the shard, and the energy blasts bent away, curving into the abyss. The hunters roared in anger, advancing faster. The human turned to the girl, his voice steady. "Run when I tell you." Her eyes widened. "No, not without you." He gave a faint smile, even through the pain. "You will, because I'll be right behind you." The hunters charged, their weapons glowing. The bridge shook with every step. The human raised the shard, its light being blazing like a star in the dark. For a moment, he didn't look weak. He didn't look outnumbered. He looked unstoppable. The alien girl, leaning against the wall, whispered to herself, "He is only human, but why does he fight like more?" The hunters leapt, the shard met their strike, and the bridge shook violently. The human shouted, his voice echoing through the abyss, and the bond between him and the alien girl grew stronger, not through words, but through the unspoken truth, that neither of them would leave the other behind. The chase. The bridge shook as the hunters clashed against the shard's light. The human gritted his teeth, every muscle burning as he forced them back. The alien girl, still weak, leaned against the wall, her glowing eyes locked on him. She wanted to help, but her body would not obey. She whispered his name, though she had never spoken it before. It gave him strength. The shard screamed with energy, brighter than before. The hunters hissed, their weapons failing to break his defense. With a sudden burst, the human swung wide. The shard released a wave of light that cracked the bridge beneath them. Stone and metal shattered, and the abyss roared below. The hunters stumbled, but they did not fall. They leapt forward, forcing the human to retreat, step by step. "Go!" he shouted to the alien girl. "Run now!" Her eyes widened, glowing with defiance. "No, I will not leave you." He blocked another strike. Sparks flying across his arm, blood dripped down, but he stayed standing. His voice came low and steady. "You have to, because if they catch you, all of this was for nothing." She froze, her chest rising and falling fast. Her people never understood sacrifice. Yet here was a human, bleeding for her without hesitation. Her throat tightened, but finally she nodded. "I will run, but you must follow." She stumbled forward across the narrow passage, her legs weak but her will strong. Behind her, the human fought like a cornered wolf. The hunters, struck with blades and fire, but he met them with wild, unpredictable moves. He was not faster, not stronger, but he was human, and humans never quit. One hunter swung wide, and the human ducked low, slashing at its side. The shard tore through armor, sparks flying. The creature screamed, stumbling back. The others pressed harder, driving him against the crumbling edge of the bridge. The abyss waited below, endless and black. For a moment he thought he might fall, but then he heard her voice echo from ahead. "Don't stop, human. You are not allowed to stop." He smiled through the blood on his lips. Wasn't planning to. With a roar, he slammed the shard into the bridge itself. The ground shook, cracks spreading fast. The hunters froze, realizing too late. The section under their feet collapsed. Two of them fell screaming into the dark. Only one remained. The leader, eyes burning brighter than the rest. The human turned, limping. The leader followed, moving fast. The chase thundered through the alien corridors. The walls pulsed red with alarm. The girl ran as best she could, glancing back at him. He was slower now, bleeding, but he never stopped moving. Every step was for her. At last, they reached a chamber lit with strange blue light. In the center stood a tall spire of living metal. The alien girl gasped. "That is a core node. It powers the whole structure. If it breaks, this place will fall." The human looked at her. "Can you use it?" She shook her head. "Not in my condition, and not before he reaches us." The leader hunter entered, weapon glowing like fire. The air burned with heat as he stepped closer. The alien girl clutched the human's arm, her voice shaking. "You cannot fight him alone. He is stronger than the others. Even with the shard, you will die." The human raised the shard, its glow faint but still alive. His voice came steady. "Then I'll die trying, because he's not taking you." The girl's eyes filled with tears she did not understand. Her people never cried. But this human made her feel something new, something sharp and heavy in her chest. The leader attacked. The clash shook the chamber. The shard screamed against the weapon's power. The human's arms trembled, his wounds tearing wider, but he pushed back, step after step. The alien girl pressed her hand against the core, whispering in her language. The spire glowed, answering her voice. The walls shook violently. The leader turned his head, distracted for a moment. The human seized the chance, driving the shard forward. The blade sank deep into the hunter's chest, but the leader grabbed him by the throat, lifting him high. The human gasped, vision fading. The girl screamed, "No, let him go." She pressed harder on the core, light flooding the chamber. The whole structure roared like a living beast. The hunter staggered, his grip loosening. The human slammed the shard deeper. The leader finally collapsed, the weapon falling silent. The human dropped to his knees, coughing. The girl rushed to his side, catching him before he hit the floor. Her glowing eyes searched his face. "You are broken, bleeding. Why do you keep standing?" He looked at her, weak but smiling. "Because you're still here." The spire pulsed brighter, and the walls began to crack. The whole place was falling apart, the girl whispered, fear mixing with awe. "You are only human, yet you fight like you carry the weight of stars." The human leaned against her, his breath heavy. "Then let's get out before the stars crush us." Together, they stumbled toward the exit as the chamber collapsed behind them. The chase was not over, but their bond was no longer fragile. It was forged in fire, unbreakable. The final risk. The corridor shook as the alien structure began to collapse. Blue light from the core spread through every wall, cracks opening like veins of fire. The human pulled the alien girl forward, but his body was failing. Blood ran down his arms, and his steps grew slower with every breath. She clung to him, her glowing eyes filled with fear. "You cannot go on like this," she whispered. "You are breaking apart, human." He gave a faint smile, weak but stubborn. "Humans don't break that easy." They stumbled into another chamber, but this one was different. At its center was a second living machine, larger and more dangerous than the first. It pulsed with red light, alive and waiting. The girl froze, her whole body trembling. "No," she whispered, her voice cracking. "This is the mother core, the heart of the hunters. If it captures us, we are finished." The human looked at it, his jaw tightening. "Then we don't let it win." But even as he spoke, the machine stirred. Tendrils of living metal reached toward them, wrapping around the girl's legs again. She screamed, her hands clawing at the floor. Her body was too weak to resist. The machine dragged her slowly toward its glowing core. The human dropped the shard and threw himself onto the tendrils. He pulled with all his strength, his teeth clenched, but the machine was stronger. Every time he fought, it tightened its grip. The girl cried out, "Leave me, human. Save yourself." He shook his head violently, his voice raw. "Not happening. I didn't come this far to watch you die." The machine pulled harder, dragging them both closer to its core. Its glow grew brighter, filling the chamber like burning fire. The human's strength began to fail. And then he realized something. The shard he had dropped was not the only answer. The machine had bonded with him before. If he entered it fully, maybe, just maybe, he could break its hold from the inside. The thought was madness, but he had no choice. He looked at her, his eyes steady even as his body shook. "There's only one way to end this," he said. "I have to go inside." Her eyes widened, glowing brighter with fear. "No human has ever entered a mother core. It will kill you, burn you from the inside." He gave a faint grin. "Then it hasn't met the right human yet." Before she could stop him, he tore himself free of the tendrils and ran straight into the machine's pulsing core. The moment he touched it, pain shot through his entire body. Every nerve screamed, his vision went white. It felt like fire and ice tearing through his veins. But he did not stop. He forced himself deeper, his voice roaring. "Let her go!" The machine screamed, its red glow twisting into wild chaos. The alien girl watched in horror. His body convulsed inside the shifting light. But then something impossible happened. The glow of the machine began to change. It turned from red to blue, bending under his will. The girl gasped. He's controlling it. Inside the machine, the human's mind was drowning in pain, but his heart refused to give in. He thought of her eyes, her trust, her voice calling his name, and he pushed harder. The machine cracked, its walls shattering. The tendrils released the alien girl, throwing her free. She crawled toward him, her glowing hands reaching. Come back, human. Don't let it take you. His body burned, his vision fading, but he forced himself out of the machine, collapsing onto the floor. The shard fell beside him, glowing faintly as if alive again. The girl caught him in her arms, pulling his head against her chest. Her voice trembled. You fool, you gave everything. He coughed, his lips stained with blood, but he looked at her and whispered, I didn't give everything. I still have you. Her eyes widened, tears running down her glowy, Nang cheeks. She held him tighter. You should be dead, yet you live. How can a human endure what even my people could not? He gave a faint smile, his voice almost gone. Because humans are built for the impossible. The machine behind them collapsed, its glow fading into nothing. The chamber went silent except for the sound of their breathing. But the silence was not peace. The walls outside still shook, more enemies moving closer. The fight was not over, yet in that moment, as she held him close, the alien girl realized something. This human was no longer just a stranger. He was her savior, her protector, and perhaps something even more, resolution. Why triumph? The chamber was falling apart, the walls splitting as if the entire structure was tearing itself open. Dust rained down, sparks lit the air, and the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridors. The alien girl held the human close, her glowing eyes burning with both fear and pride. He was half conscious, his body broken, but his spirit refused to die. You must move, she whispered urgently. If you stay here, they will finish you. I cannot lose you now. The human coughed, forcing his eyes open. Through the blood and pain, he still smiled faintly. Don't worry, I'm not planning on dying yet. She pulled him up, her strength returning little by little. Together they staggered toward a side passage as the hunter's shadows filled the chamber behind them. Bolts of red energy cracked against the walls, shaking the ground, but the girl shielded him with her body, guiding him through the broken halls. At last, they burst into a wide chamber that opened to the outside. Above them stretched the black sky of an alien world, filled with strange stars and distant moons. Cold air swept across their faces, carrying the smell of ash and metal. The human collapsed against the edge. Eat, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The girl knelt beside him, her glowing hands pressing against his wounds. Her voice trembled as she whispered, You should not be alive. No human should have survived the mother core. And yet here you are, still breathing. He looked at her weakly, his voice almost a whisper. Maybe that's what makes us human. We don't know when to give up. Her lips trembled, her eyes softening. My people would never understand. They would call you reckless, foolish, even weak for risking yourself. But I see it now. It is your greatest strength. The footsteps grew louder again. Hunters pouring into the open chamber. The alien girl rose to her feet, standing tall despite her weakness. She placed herself between the human and the enemy, her eyes glowing like fire. You will not touch him, she said firmly. He is mine to protect now. The hunters hesitated, their weapons raised, but before they could strike, the shard lying beside the human flared with light. It lifted from the ground on its own, spinning in the air like it was alive. The human reached out, his fingers trembling. When his hand closed around it, the glow surged. Brighter than ever before, he forced himself to his feet, swaying but unbroken. The hunters stepped back, fear flickering in their eyes. The human's voice came low and steady. You've tried to break me, but you forgot one thing. Humans don't break. We endure. With the alien girl at his side, he raised the shard. The light spread across the chamber, shattering the hunters' weapons. The ground split open, and the enemy fell back into the collapsing structure. The roar of the falling fortress echoed until only silence remained. When it was over, the human dropped to his knees, exhausted. The alien girl caught him before he could fall. Her voice broke with emotion. "You saved me when you had no reason to. You fought for me when my own people would not. Tell me, human, why?" He looked at her, his voice soft. "Because that's what humans do. We protect, even when it costs us everything." Her eyes glowed brighter, tears shimmering down her cheeks. She whispered, "Then maybe humanity is not weak as we thought. Maybe it is the strongest of all." The night sky stretched above them, silent and endless. The fortress crumbled behind them, swallowed by fire and dust. The human leaned against her, his body broken but his spirit fierce. She held him close, her heart pounding in a rhythm she had never felt before. For the first time, she understood. This was not just survival. This was something greater, something only humans could bring. The wind howled across the barren land, but in the silence that followed, the bond between them stood unshaken. She whispered into the night, her voice strong. "This is only the beginning." And with the stars watching above, they stepped forward together into a future neither could yet imagine. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more.